In this session, we are going to upgrade the firmware of your visual cortex because right now you are walking through a minefield with your eyes closed and you are being blown apart by the shrapnel of consumerist propaganda without even knowing you are bleeding. You think you are seeing the world, but you are actually seeing a carefully rendered simulation designed by the lords of the grid to bypass your critical thinking and inject the virus of inadequacy directly into your subcortex. We are going to dismantle the architecture of the gaze and teach you how to look at an advertiser, a politician, or a fake guru and strip them naked, visually deconstructing their lies before they even utter a single syllable. The soft man looks at a screen and sees a nice person offering a solution. The architect looks at a screen and sees a biological puppet performing a calculated script designed to extract resources. We are going to teach you the visual forensic skills of a predator who can spot the sickness in the prey from a mile away. You must understand that the eyes are not just cameras, they are the primary defense perimeter of your sovereign mind. If you let the enemy control what you see, they control what you feel, and if they control what you feel, they own your wallet and your soul. Let us begin with the fundamental concept of the manufactured image. Every single pixel you see on a screen in an advertisement or a polished YouTube video is a lie by default. The lighting is artificial designed to erase the stress markers on the face. The makeup is a mask designed to simulate health that does not exist. The angles are calculated to simulate height and dominance. When you see a success guru standing in front of a mansion, the soft man thinks he is successful. The architect engages the forensic gaze. He scans the background. He looks for the subtle signs of a rental. He looks at the depth of field. He looks at the lighting setup reflected in the eyes. He deconstructs the scene into its component parts: a rented location, a rented car, a hired camera crew, and a desperate man reciting lines. You must train your eyes to see the production, not the result. When you see the production, you see the effort they are putting into deceiving you. The more polished the image, the deeper the lie. Truth is usually grainy, raw, and unpolished. If it looks like a movie, it is because it is a script. You must learn to vivisect the frame. Stop looking at the focal point the director wants you to see and start looking at the edges. Look at what is in the shadows. Look at what they are hiding. The truth is always in the periphery. We must then move to the analysis of the micro-expression. The human face is a billboard of intent, but most people are illiterate. The advertiser trains himself to smile. He practices the trust me face in the mirror, but biology is harder to hack than a computer. There is a specific muscle around the eye, the orbicularis oculi, which is almost impossible to control consciously. When a man smiles genuinely, this muscle contracts and creates crow's feet at the corners of the eyes. This is the Duchenne marker. When a corporate shill or a lying politician smiles, they usually only engage the zygomatic major muscle, which pulls the mouth corners up, but leaves the eyes dead. This is the Pan Am smile. It is the smile of a predator trying to look like a friend. You must train your gaze to ignore the mouth completely. Cover the mouth with your hand if you have to. Look only at the eyes. Are they smiling or are they cold, calculating, and static? If the mouth says, I love you, but the eyes say, I want your money, you are looking at a threat. You must develop a visceral disgust for this incongruence. The soft man ignores it because he wants to be polite. The architect registers it as a combat signal. Furthermore, we must discuss the pupillometry of greed. The pupils do not lie. When a person sees something they desire, their pupils dilate. When a person is calculating or under cognitive load, their pupils constrict or oscillate. When you are watching a pitch, look at the eyes of the pitcher. If they are talking about helping you, but their eyes are flat, they are lying. If they are looking at the product or the money, and their pupils dilate, they are hungry. You can also detect the duping delight. This is a micro-expression that flashes across the face of a liar when they think they have successfully deceived you. It is a fleeting smirk, usually lasting less than a fifth of a second. It is a flash of arrogant pleasure. You will see this often in interviews with corrupt CEOs or fake natty fitness influencers. They tell a lie, and for a split second, a smirk tugs at the corner of their mouth. The soft man misses it because he is listening to the words. The architect catches it because he is watching the muscles. That smirk is their confession. It is their ego congratulating their ability to manipulate you. When you see it, you know everything they said is garbage. We must also address the visuals of neuro-linguistic programming, NLP. Advertisers use hand gestures to anchor emotions. Watch the hands. When they talk about the problem, your pain, your poverty, your fear, they will use a specific gesture or look to a specific side. When they talk about the solution, their product, their course, they will switch gestures and look look to the other side. They are spatially anchoring pain to you and pleasure to them. They will use the open palm gesture to simulate honesty. This is a primal signal that says, I have no weapons. But in 2026, the weapon is not a rock, it is a subscription model. The open palm is the most overused lie in the book. When a man shows you his palms too much, he is trying too hard to bypass your skepticism. The architect watches these gestures with amusement. He sees the strings of the puppet. He sees the rehearsal. When you see the rehearsal, the spell is broken. You are no longer a participant in their play. You are a critic sitting in the audience watching a bad performance. Let's dig deeper into the blink rate and the gaze aversion. A normal human blinks about 15 to 20 times a minute. When a person is lying or under high cognitive stress, trying to maintain a fabrication, their blink rate often changes drastically. It might plummet as they stare intensely to prove truthfulness, the psychopath stare, or it might skyrocket as their nervous system leaks anxiety. Watch for the flutter. A rapid series of blinks usually indicates a struggle in the processing unit. Also watch for the cutoff. When a liar says something particularly egregious, they will often subconsciously break eye contact or close their eyes for a fraction of a second longer than a normal blink. This is the brain trying to block out the deception. It is a shame reflex. The advertiser says, "This is the best product on the market," and immediately looks down or blinks hard. He just told you he is lying. You must trust these biological signals over the legal disclaimers. The body confesses what the tongue denies. We must also analyze the edit as a visual weapon. In the age of YouTube and TikTok, the jump cut is the greatest tool of the liar. The jump cut allows a speaker to remove the hesitation, the ums, the ahs, and the moments where they have to think up the lie. It creates an artificial flow of confidence. A man speaking in jump cuts appears smarter, faster, and more certain than he actually is. The architect mentally unedits the video. He imagines the pauses that were cut out. He imagines the retakes. He realizes that the person on screen probably fumbled that line 10 times before getting the perfect take. Do not be intimidated by the flow. The flow is synthetic. If you met this person in real life, they would be stuttering and unsure. The jump cut is a crutch for the incompetent. By seeing the edit points, you dismantle the aura of authority. You realize you are watching a collage, not a man. Now let us turn to the environmental audit. The background of a video is never accidental. It is a set dressing designed to signal status and authority. The bookshelf is the classic lie. Look at the books. Are they real? Are the spines cracked? Or are they pristine decor books bought by the yard to simulate intelligence? Look for the status totems, the neon sign, the expensive chair, the award on the wall. These are placed there to trigger your deference reflex. The soft man sees the awards and thinks authority. The architect sees the awards and thinks insecurity. A king does not need to hang his resume on the wall behind him. The harder they try to prove their status through background props, the less status they actually possess. This is the law of overcompensation. If a man films in a Lamborghini but sells a course on passive income, you are looking at a fraud. A man with real wealth does not sit in a car to film. He sits in a quiet room because he has nothing to prove. The car is a rental. The watch is a lease. The reality is a lie. We must also speak of the color grading of manipulation. Advertisers use color grading to manipulate your emotional state. They pump up the saturation to make food look more appetizing than it is. They use cool blue tones to make tech products look futuristic and trustworthy. They use warm orange tones to create a sense of home and comfort. This is a direct hack of your color perception. The architect turns down the color in his mind. He imagines the image in black and white. When you strip away the color, you strip away the emotional coating. Does the burger still look good in grayscale? Does the tech guru still look trustworthy in monochrome? Usually the answer is no. Color is the sugar coating on the poison pill. By learning to see through the saturation, you neutralize their ability to bypass your logic with aesthetics. We must deploy the peripheral vision drill. Modern media forces you into foveal tunnel vision. You stare at the center of the screen where the action is. This is a trance state. To break the trance, you must engage your peripheral vision. While watching a screen, consciously pay attention to the four corners of the frame. Expand your awareness to the room you are sitting in. See the wall behind the monitor. See your own hands. This soft focus breaks the hypnotic lock of the screen. It recontextualizes the video as just a small square of light in a much larger reality. It reminds you that you are the observer and they are the object. The advertiser wants you to forget your body and become a floating pair of eyes. The architect stays grounded in his physical reality. When you maintain peripheral awareness, you cannot be hypnotized. You remain the sovereign observer. Finally, in this first phase, we must discuss the anatomy of the shock value, the surprised face thumbnail, the screaming font, the sudden loud noise. These are assaults on your amygdala. They are designed to trigger a fight or flight response which shuts down your prefrontal cortex, logic. When you see a YouTuber making that open-mouthed soy face on a thumbnail, understand that he is insulting your intelligence. sense. He is treating you like an infant who reacts to shiny objects. The architect feels a cold contempt for this. He does not click. He marks it as low-status behavior. By refusing to reward the shock tactics, you train your own algorithm and your own mind to filter out the noise. You are building a visual firewall that automatically blocks high-entropy images. You are saving your neural energy for things that matter. This is the foundation of the architect's gaze. You are moving from a passive consumer of images to an active auditor of reality. You are learning to see the skull beneath the skin. You are learning that everything on a screen is guilty until proven innocent. The advertiser is not your friend. He is a hunter and you are the gazelle. But by changing how you look at him, you turn the tables. You become the hunter of lies. You strip away the lighting, the makeup, the editing, and the fake smiles, and you see the desperate, grasping little man underneath. And once you see him, he can never manipulate you again. We have vivisected the face of the liar, and we have exposed the production set of the deception. But now we must descend into the deeper levels of the visual war, where the enemy utilizes advanced technology and biological hacking to bypass your defenses entirely. The soft man thinks that if he sees a video, it is real footage. The architect understands that in 2026 footage is a deprecated concept. Everything is synthesis. Everything is rendered. We are entering the domain of the deepfake defense, where your eyes must be trained to detect not just human lies, but algorithmic lies. The perfect image is the enemy of the truth. When you see a face that is too symmetrical, a skin texture that is too smooth, or a movement that is too fluid, your uncanny valley alarm should be screaming. The soft man is seduced by the perfection. The architect is repulsed by it. He knows that reality is defined by its imperfections, by its asymmetry, and by its grit. If there is no grit, there is no truth. Let us analyze the biological Trojan horse, also known as the halo effect hijack. Advertisers know that your reptilian brain shuts down critical analysis when it sees a highly attractive female, or a cute animal, or a vulnerable child. This is a visual bypass. They put a model in a bikini next to a crypto scam because they know you will look at the girl and buy the coin. They put a puppy in a bank commercial because they know you will feel warmth for a corporation that wants to indebt you. The architect practices visual separation. He mentally crops the image. He removes the girl. He removes the puppy. He looks at the product in isolation against a gray void. Does the crypto scam still look appealing without the dopamine hit of the model? Does the bank still look friendly without the emotional anchor of the dog? The answer is always no. You must train your eyes to be aesthetic atheists. You do not believe in the beauty of the messenger. You only judge the logic of the message. When you see beauty used aggressively, treat it as a red flag. It is a distraction grenade thrown to cover the advance of a bad deal. We must also deconstruct the graphics of false urgency. The screen is often cluttered with countdown timers, flashing red banners, and only 3 left notifications. These are visual stressors designed to spike your cortisol and force a panic decision. The soft man sees the timer ticking down, and his heart rate matches the rhythm. He buys because he is afraid of missing out. The architect stares at the timer with cold amusement. He knows it is a loop of JavaScript code. He knows that if he refreshes the page, the timer will reset. He looks at the scarcity indicators as lies of pixelation. You must train your gaze to flatten these elements. See them as CSS scripts, not as reality. When a website screams at you visually with red fonts and flashing icons, it is the digital equivalent of a beggar grabbing your lapel and shaking you. Do not react with fear. React with disgust. A legitimate offer does not need to scream. A king does not run. And a real opportunity does not need a countdown. Let's dismantle the visual lie of data. The chart is the most dangerous image in the world because it wears the costume of science. Advertisers show you a graph with a line going up and to the right. The soft man sees the line and thinks growth, profit, science. The architect reads the axis. He looks at the scale. He sees that they have truncated the y-axis to make a 1% gain look like a 100% vertical explosion. He sees that they have cherry-picked the timeline to hide the crash that happened last month. He looks for the cumulative data trick, where they show total sales instead of monthly revenue to hide the fact that the business is dying. You must train your eyes to ignore the shape of the line and hunt for the numbers on the side. If the numbers are small or missing, the chart is a lie. If the timeline is short, the chart is a lie. Visual data is usually just a drawing designed to confirm your bias. Treat every graph as a piece of abstract art until you have audited the raw numbers. We must also speak of the testimonial montage. You see a sequence of happy people nodding, smiling, and saying, "This changed my life." The soft man sees social proof. The architect sees casting. Look at the backgrounds of these people. Are they generic white walls? Are they sitting in cars? These are the hallmarks of cheap actors hired on gig platforms or user-generated content farms. Look at the eyes of the testimonials. Are they reading a teleprompter? You can see the eyes scanning left to right. A real testimonial is messy. The person stumbles, they look away, they search for words. A fake testimonial is slick. It hits all the marketing keywords. I was skeptical at first, but then this is a script. When you see a montage of nodding heads, understand that you are watching a chorus of hired mouths. Do not let the herd instinct drag you off the cliff. The herd is paid. Now we enter the realm of the AI glitch hunt. As we move deeper into the age of synthetic media, you cannot trust video evidence. You must look for the artifacts. Look at the fingers. AI still struggles with hands. Are there too many joints? Do the fingers clip through the object? Look at the teeth. Are they too uniform? A blur of white noise? Look at the shadows. Do the shadows match the light source? Often deepfakes will have perfect facial lighting, but the shadow on the neck is wrong. Look at the blinking. Sometimes AI generates a face that never blinks or blinks in a mechanical rhythm. The architect scans for these glitch points. He knows that reality is consistent physics. Simulation is approximation. When you spot the physics breaking, you know you are looking at a generated lie. This is the Blade Runner Voight-Kampff test for 2026. You are hunting for the absence of soul in the pixel. We must also address the lifestyle backdrop. The influencer rents an Airbnb for a day to film a month's worth of content. They pretend this is their home. The architect looks for the sterility. A real home has clutter. It has personal items. It has dust. A rental is sterile. It looks like a hotel lobby. If you see a guru filming in a kitchen that has no spices on the rack, no magnets on the fridge, and nowhere on the counter, you are looking at a set. He is a squatter in a fantasy. By identifying the rental aesthetic, you strip away his authority. You realize he is a nomad pretender, not a lord of his domain. Now we must discuss the visual fast, also known as the retinal reset. You cannot learn to spot lies if your eyes are constantly bombarded by them. Your baseline for normal has been warped by hyper-reality. To fix this, the architect performs a visual detox. For 48 hours, you look at no screens. None. You look at nature. You look at walls. You look at the horizon. You look at paper books. You are recalibrating your dopamine receptors and your depth perception. You are reminding your brain what real light looks like versus backlit pixels. When you return to the screen after 48 hours, the lies will be blindingly obvious. The saturation will look painful. The editing will look frantic. The fake smiles will look grotesque. You will see the matrix code because you have stepped out of the simulation for a moment. You need this contrast to maintain your sanity. You cannot live in the sewer and expect to smell the rot. You must come up for air. We must also implement the mute protocol. Sight and sound are designed to work together to overwhelm your logic. The music swells to make you feel emotional, while the image flashes to make you feel excited. The architect separates the senses. He watches the sales pitch on mute. When you remove the dramatic music and the hypnotic voice, and you just watch the man waving his hands and moving his mouth, he looks ridiculous. He looks like a mime. You can see the desperation in his body language without the auditory camouflage. Conversely, listen to the audio without the video. Does the logic hold up without the flashy graphics? Usually it does not. By breaking the synchronization of the senses, you break the spell. Divide and conquer. Finally, let us establish the sovereign gaze as a spiritual stance. The soft man looks at the screen. He is absorbed by it. He projects his consciousness into the device. The architect looks through the screen. He maintains a physical distance. He leans back. He keeps his chin up. He narrows his eyes slightly. This is the judicial stance. You are the judge. The content is the defendant. It is on trial for your attention. You are not a sponge soaking up information. You are a filter blocking out noise. You operate with a default deny policy. Every image is rejected until it proves its value. You do not give your eyes to the algorithm. You lend them with high interest, and you revoke them the moment the contract is violated. So here is your final action plan for optical sovereignty. Engage the Duchenne filter. Ignore the mouth. Watch the eyes. No crow's feet equals no trust. Crop the frame. Mentally remove the girls, the cars, and the props. Judge the empty void. Flatten the urgency. See countdowns as code, not time. Do not panic. Audit the chart. Read the axis. Ignore the line. Hunt the raw numbers. Spot the glitch. Hunt for AI artifacts in hands, shadows, and blinks. Reality has physics. Lies have bugs. Mute the hype. Watch the pitch in silence. Decouple the audio-visual attack, the visual fast. Reset your baseline regularly to see the grotesque nature of the simulation. The world wants to blind you with dazzle camouflage. It wants you to be a moth flying into the bug zapper of consumption. But you are not a moth. You are the architect. You see the zapper, you see the grid, you see the man behind the curtain pulling the levers. And because you see, you are free. The war is visual. Open your eyes.